If you really want to, you can, but this is gonna be so weird.
It's okay, I'll just sit here and change all my Snapchat names. Because, like, I started and never finished.
You could do that in a different room.
Yeah, but I want to do it here.
Of course
the
you
lighting's
do.
good.
Oh, because the lighting's good. Well, I hate you a little bit right now. Hello everybody, my name is Jenna, and today I'm going to be doing a book review. The book I'm going to be reviewing is The EYRE Affair by Jasper Fforde. So I read this book for my university degree, and it took me just over a week to read it. And considering it's really not that big of a book, and it was one of the ones I was actually looking forward to reading this semester, I'm really disappointed that it took me a week to read. But to be fair, I was getting over the biggest book hangover of my life after finishing the critique books that I was reading. So if you know what books those were, you can probably understand why my book hangover was so large. Before I get started though, I just wanted to explain a little bit. I keep like looking to the side of the camera because my cousin has decided she's gonna sit on the bed and watch me film, and it's super, super awkward. You see? Look at this. Stop! And yeah. So because of that, I'm probably gonna be looking to the side quite a lot and trying not to laugh while she laughs at me film. I told her to leave, but she won't. So in The EYRE Affair, we follow Thursday Next, who is a literary detective living in London. So Thursday comes across Acheron Hades, who has kidnapped her uncle, who has created some sort of portal in which he can jump into books and steal the characters and hold them for ransom, which honestly sounds like a really awesome premise. Like, I read that on the back of the book and went, this sounds amazing. I'm really, really, really excited for it. But I ended up being a little bit disappointed with this book. Like, I did enjoy it in parts, but other parts I just really didn't enjoy at all. So this is going to be a spoiler-free review, so don't worry if you haven't yet read this book, you can still watch this video without fear of being spoiled. So honestly, this book was not at all like what I expected. So like I said, I thought it was all going to be about this bad guy who was stealing literary characters, and Thursday would then have to sort of save them or get them back and return them to the book or whatever, but that's really not what the book was actually about. It was all sort of more about Thursday and about expanding her world. There's this war that's been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years, so it's sort of all about that. It's about this really nasty sort of corporation called the Goliath Corporation, and it's just kind of, it's really more of a critique on society than it is actually on the literary books in general. So eventually though, I did really get into this book. Like, the last 100 or so pages were absolutely incredible. They were really, really fun, and the last 100 pages actually have convinced me that I want to read the rest of this series, which I wasn't going to do, but now I think I am, because I need to know what happens next. So all I can really say is that the pacing in this book was really not great. So I think that if the book had been paced better, or maybe it had been shorter, or just more had happened at the beginning of the novel, I might have enjoyed it a lot more. In saying that though, I did not like any of the characters in this book. I didn't like Thursday, who of course is our protagonist, and when you don't like a protagonist, it can kind of be really difficult to get into a novel. I didn't like the villain. I thought Acheron was the most two-dimensional villain I have ever had the pleasure of reading about, and basically all of the other characters as well, all of the side characters, I really didn't care about any of them, like none of them at all. Even worse is the only relationship that Thursday has in this book I did not approve of. I thought it was a terrible relationship. I didn't see the point of it, and it added nothing to the story for me, and I just was like, why is this here? What is the point of this? So this book does have a really interesting writing style. So at the beginning of every chapter, there's sort of an excerpt from another book or a diary or something that has been written in the world of, like, in Thursday's world, and it's a really nice way to sort of break up the chapters and sort of give us a little bit of an insight to what else is going on in the novel, which I really love. I do enjoy that. I think that was a really clever tool that Jasper Fforde used. The one thing I did find really, really interesting about it though is the fact that this book is actually written in first person point of view, but we actually got to see a bit of like other people's points of view as well. So it was kind of difficult because you would have Thursday's first point of view, and then it would switch to in third person point of view, like somewhere else. And you sort of think, well, if we're reading this book from Thursday's point of view, then how is the narrative sort of moving to someone else? Which is a really interesting thing because they sort of talk about that as well a lot when they talk about Jane Eyre. So I just found it really odd that that was happening. So one of the most interesting things about this book is all of the intertextuality that is woven throughout. So obviously being called The EYRE Affair, there's a lot of intertextuality to Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is actually one of the literary characters that gets stolen. So you can tell that there's definitely going to be a lot of references to Jane Eyre in this novel. However, there's also a lot of references to a lot of other literary pieces of work and also just other things in general. So it made for a really difficult read at times because every time we were introduced to a new character, I was constantly sort of analyzing their name. Like, is this someone that I should know? Is this a really clever play on words? For example, the character Landon Park Lane is an intertextual reference to Monopoly, Land on Park Lane. I had no idea that was a thing. There's also a point in the novel where they're talking about one of the summers that they're talking about, and they talk about the summer of '69, which is of course a very popular song. And then there was also a lot of intertextual references to poems and whatnot, especially definitely to Wordsworth's poem, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud, and there's also the Armoured Light Brigade or something like that. A lot of reference to William Shakespeare, a lot of references to Charles Dickens, and it made for a really sort of overstocked book full of all these references that I just had to keep thinking about them, and so it made it really analytical read. So I didn't enjoy it as much because I was too busy trying to figure out where I'd heard of other things from. So one of the things I definitely didn't like about this book was that it felt like a really utopian version of 1984. Like there were so many similarities to 1984 in this book. So this book is set in an alternate 1985. It's set in a world where literary detectivism is really prominent. It's got this war that's been going on for a lot of years, and the government sort of wants the war to keep going. The Goliath Corporation is very much like the Big Brother Corporation. The fact that they, you know, shorten all their words, like they're called literatexts. So there were a lot of references to 1984, and I personally did not enjoy 1984. So the fact that all these references and similarities I was finding, it made it really difficult for me to enjoy this novel. So all in all, I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. So I did enjoy parts of it, especially the ending. I thought the ending was really good, but the beginning of the book I just found really slow and I had a lot of trouble getting into it. Plus all the intertextual references made it a bit of a chore to read, but I do recommend it, especially if you really enjoyed Jane Eyre. I do recommend that you give this one a go. Plus if you like sort of different sort of books, or if you liked 1984, then maybe give this one a go as well. But if you didn't enjoy 1984, don't even bother with this one because it's all the similarities you're going to be able to see. Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comment section below if you have read the EYRE Affair and what you thought, or let me know if you're planning on picking this one up. I would really love to know. If you like this video, be sure to give it a huge thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a thing. Stay random.
Don't stay random, guys.
Bye! The book I'm going to be reviewing. I can see you laughing. Stop! You cannot laugh if you're gonna sit in this room. So I read this book for my... Shut up. So in the EYRE Affair Really?
Do you even know what happened?
Yeah, I do. It's gonna take me so long to film.